The shutters are down in these normally bustling streets. Customers with less money to spend are being asked to stay home. Unemployment at 13%, at a 15-year high. Georgina, a former teacher with 5 children, was homeless before the pandemic, but says there's a noticeable increase in those joining her.
We ask for money and people help us, and if some work crops up, we do it. Being on the street, people don't give us much room because they're scared or disgusted, but we survive.
Marta and Jorge have kept their downtown restaurant open, but with lockdown restrictions. No sit-down customers, just takeaway meals.
There's nothing. We serve 4 or 5 meals. What can we do with that? It doesn't cover our costs. We're at our limit and ready to pack it all in.
Similar stories are told across Latin America. It's particularly bad in Peru, Brazil, Chile and Mexico, where many work in the informal sector. What the pandemic has done is exacerbate existing structural problems right across Latin America. Lack of investment in health and education and massive inequalities. And nowhere is that more severe than here in Argentina, already saddled with crippling debt and barely recovered from previous economic crises. President Alberto Fernandez is calling for long-term measures to tackle deep-rooted problems. Addressing the United Nations General Assembly on Tuesday, he said the country's debt burden should be eased.
No country can pay its debts at the expense of its own people without being left with no health, education, security, or growth capacity.
Argentina recorded 470 more COVID-related deaths on Tuesday, bringing its total to more than 13,000. While it says its priority remains public health, it still has to keep the economy functioning.
The only way to keep it going and hope for economic reactivation is, and even the IMF has said this, is through massive government subsidies to the private sector, to individuals, to try to keep things afloat so that eventually once we have a vaccine or whatever and can start going back to normal.
Argentina pays 5% of its GDP on those subsidies, wondering like everyone else how much longer it can sustain such a delicate balancing act. Daniel Schweimler, Aljazeera, Buenos Aires.